So, good, they haven't started yet. We have time to talk about their decks. But, so his opponent is Court. He's actually playing a very similar deck to what I was talking about Craig Wesco earlier. And he's just playing a mono-white beatdown deck with Angelic Destiny. So, as you can see,
so on the left-hand
that's the champion
side
of the parish.
Yep. On the left-hand side, we've got Court. And Court or Corey, can't quite tell what that last letter is on the deck list.
I'm going to go with Court, because that's a sweet name. But, okay, so Andrew deck has, like, Honor the Pure, Intangible Virtue. Which was that? What did that do?
Still looking up.
Still looking that up. And Shrine, obviously, on the right, you can see the Shrine. But on the left, Court just played Grand Abolisher. That's going to make the Shrine actually really interesting. I like that interaction because, like, you're not going to be able to activate the Shrine whenever you want during combat. So you're actually going to have... They're going to know when you make these tokens.
Intangible Virtue is the crusade for tokens that also gives them vigilance.
Interesting.
So you have Midnight Haunting.
That's the
that gives
procession.
gives you 2 flyers. You've got 2 dudes, just 2 dudes. And then you've also got Elspeth Terrell, who can make some. Shrine of Loyal Legions, obviously, can throw out a whole bunch of tokens. And Doom Traveler and Hero of Bladehold are going to spit out plenty of tokens as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and so what we see is another champion of the parish.
And Honor of the Pure.
And Honor Pure on the right and another champion on the left. And
Shrine of Loyal Legions.
And yeah, the Wrath of God. That's pretty interesting. You don't think a deck that just went Shrine into Honor the Pure is going to, play Day of Judgment. Ouch, that's really rough. Court gets Wrath and then doesn't do a thing. And he's looking at a guy with Honor the Pure and a Shrine that has now 5 counters. So what's he going to follow it up with? All right, he's following it up with the
Lunarch.
Yeah.
And that looks like it's
just for one.
Yep.
Just so he wants to sack the Shrine.
Yep.
Oh, and then that's going to be at 6, 18.
Yep, ticks that up with the white spell.
If he just, sacrifices the Lunarch, he's going to be attacking with 6 3/3s. Tap, take the counter off, it dies. Practically sacrifice it. All right, so Court's like, I'm not afraid, I'm going to attack for 1. And what did he just play? Oh, he's making the 2 flyers and blocking.
He's making the 2 1/1s. Yep. That'd be Midnight Haunting right there.
Wow, well, I'm not going to lie. The first thing I thought when I saw Andrew's deck is, this looks, not that great.
And Court actually digs some spirit tokens out of his box to hand over to Andrew. And those guys are a little bit better than Court's spirits. That Honor of the Pure, pretty good. And
some Intangible Virtues somewhere in his deck.
Yep.
Wow, I kind of like Andrew's deck. This is a really interesting take on the tokens variant.
Yep. Now, what is the green in there for? It looks like that may just be a board choice.
And it's just a couple naturalizes? Oh, it's to splash the township, the land. Wow, 3 different decks have just splashed these lands. It's really awesome. Because, like, Haunt and Township both only need one of the allied colors, and with the M12 cycle of lands plus the Scars cycle, you have 8 really easy ways to just splash one of these lands. We've seen that all weekend, actually. We've seen people making 1/1 tokens just off a splash for blue, just like Court's doing.
Now, Court actually has Geist of Saint Traft.
Yeah, he's splashing a little.
But that's the only piece of blue that he has other than the Moorland Haunt.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so, Andrew takes his turn, and the board looks really bad for Court. Like, this game's pretty out of reach. Like, that Shrine keeps getting bigger, and it's eventually just going to make a ton of 2/2s.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're going to become 3/3s and potentially 4/4s because of the Lunarch. And I didn't think that was going to happen a ton this weekend, but it's cool to see it how many people are splashing these new ability lands.
Yep. It's for any deck that is not heavy on
I think that is
on color requirements.
The Virtue. Yeah, that's...
Yep.
Yeah, he just played
That's the Intangible Virtue.
And that's plus
1/1 and Vigilance for creature tokens you control.
I think that Shrine's about to fall apart. All right, Court scoops it up, and they're going to game 2, and let's see what Court is going to board in, because he saw a bunch of token makers, a Wrath. Like, I think he might bring in his negates. He probably brings in his revokes because of all the enchantments that he saw, and an Oblivion Ring. I don't think the Gideon's going to come in, and I'm assuming he's going to take out some of his like random attackers that don't really do anything. Like,
well, do you think that the spot removal comes out? Those 2 dismembers
are
costing him 4 life, and I don't think he saw anything that he wants to.
Well, I bet you want to take out the Lunarch. But yeah, I think those are probably going to come out. I think you keep the Angelic Destinies and the Honor Appears because you want to keep less creatures on the board when you get Day of Judgment.
Yeah, well, it's also, that's your way to win. So you can't go completely defensive, especially against a deck like this. You've got to put some pressure on and make them do some of the work.
And on Andrew's side with his mono white deck, Purify the Grove. I'm thinking that's the
Purify the Grave is the
Grave. Oh,
yep,
Grave.
That's in both of their sideboards.
It's the remove a creature flashback or move a card
from. Yep.
All right, so yeah, over on Andrew's side on the right, I think he might bring in another Day of Judgment. He could bring in Oblivion Rings. He might even be able to bring in Timely Reinforcements.
Yep.
Because there's aggressive white weenie creatures. He's a bunch of tokens. It's a great way to get some tokens into play.
Yep. If he falls at all behind, Timely Reinforcements is amazing for him because you have the Intangible Virtue and the Honor of the Pure, which are going to make those tokens just that much better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a really interesting way. Like Timely Reinforcement plus a bunch of enchantments that make them better.
Seems okay.
Yeah, like just play like one of your Honor of the Pure, your Intangible Virtue on turn 2. They play a guy, they beat you down a little bit, and then you make a bunch of 2/2s. It's interesting. I like it. It's a sweet interaction. And then you go beat down. But yeah, so let's see if Court, like, I mean, obviously that Day of Judgment was quite a surprise.
Yeah, that was
showed up out of nowhere and
not the card you expect out of a deck like Andrew's, where it looks like it's kind of trying to push stuff to the board, and so being able to hold back, the Shrine really gives him a great way to still make some aggressive plays that put pressure on without actually committing creatures to the board.
Oh yeah.
And then he can use that day to clear it out, sack that Shrine, and get in.
Yeah.
It can be a really, really strong way to go.
And I mean, there are Oblivion Rings and things like that, but Shrine still seems like really powerful in this format, even if there are a couple ways that deal with it, because just being able to get around all the creature removal and the Oblivion Rings have to target that when you still have cards like Elspeth and even Hero and things like that. Like, the Heroes actually seem kind of awkward in this deck because everything else, all the spot removal is just targeting them. So if you take Hero out of this deck, there's not a good, Doomblade target, really, I guess, with the Lunarch. And
I think Hero earns its spot just because it's so strong.
It's so awesome,
if it gets to attack once, remember, you're also getting those 2 tokens, and with the Intangible Virtues, they're even better.
I was testing an Naya deck with 4 Hero in it all week, and I did not attack once with a Hero. It was always dying. I think that's the format. That card just dies. Because your opponent will do anything to just stop it. They just have to spend their turn to kill it, which is fine. Cause
I was going to say, but isn't that worth it?
I mean,
if your opponent's putting that much into trying to stall that one card out, you're protecting a lot of other stuff.
Potentially.
All right, so shuffling up. Looks like we're almost ready for game number 2. Andrew Shrout up a game here in round number 5 in Indianapolis.
With his interesting mono white token / green.
Yep.
Maybe we have to think of a cool name for this too, because we were trying to figure out the red deck, and we called it what's that land again? The red green.
Oh, Kessig? Wolf
yeah,
Run?
Wolf Run. We called it Wolf Run Red. Maybe we need to figure something with Township.
Interesting. And now one of the things that, as it looks like Court takes a mulligan here, one of the things that he's got going for him is I think his guys are just better. Without backup, Andrew's playing a whole bunch of 1/1 dudes. And they get really scary because of how his deck works, but when you're going card for card and guy for guy, Court is going to have Champion of the Parish. He's got Grand Abolisher, Geist of St. Traff, Mirren Crusader. His guys are pretty strong, and his own heroes as well.
I mean, but then it's very scary because you're playing against, like, this is like the train wreck matchup for Court. Because you're playing against a deck that also has ways to put pressure and put things on the board, and they're not creature permanents that make the other creatures better, but he has 4 Day of Judgment. So they can both be playing this play guy stuff, but like Andrew's getting more value out of his guys because he's not investing as many cards per spell, and then he just gets blown out by Day. Like, it's really rough.
Court leads off with the Champion of the Parish.
Elite Vanguard to give it a pump.
Yep.
It's a good aggressive start. No Elite Vanguard. That's always the fun start. Start the game with 7 power on the board on turn 2. All right, Andrew has no plan turn 2. So this, see, right now, this is when I put Andrew on like almost 100% having Day of Judgment, because you don't know his exact deck list. Like Court doesn't, but I would put him on having Day of Judgment, because if you don't have a 1 or 2 drop, and you're running cards like Day of Judgment, that's where I would put him.
And Court is looking like he's going to just ignore that and just go.
Well, he's got to run his cards out. And I feel like what we're going to see here is Timely Reinforcement's going to block. And if that happens, then Court definitely has to be really suspicious of the Day of Judgment.
And right there, the Timely Reinforcement says exactly what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Court gets off to a blazing start, and Andrew plays Timely Reinforcements and just... right back.
He blocks all 3, so
yep.
Yeah.
You got to expect
Court knows what's happening. He's getting Wrathed right now.
Pick up some cards, put them in the bin.
Yeah, there it is.
There we go.
And so Andrew Wraths Court, and it looks real bad for Court. I guess he did top deck a
Mirran Crusader.
Not bad. Not really what you want against a field full of tokens.
Well, after the Timely Reinforcements, Andrew's back up to 19.
Yeah.
Elspeth Terrell comes down. And you've got to think that it's going to make some tokens.
Going up is worse. Just actually worse. So, yeah. Makes a bunch of tokens. Court's going to attack it. It's going to block once. I think he has an O-Ring in hand. O-Ring the Elspeth.
Yep. So, Lorwyn.
And Andrew has a Gideon, too. I think he does, right? No? I thought I saw a Gideon in his hand. Maybe I was incorrect. Yeah, I have to be wrong. There's none in his deck.
No, Court's the only one in this matchup who has access to a Gideon, and we were speculating that probably wasn't gonna come in this matchup. So Andrew is looking across, asks Court how many cards are in his hand, and the answer of none puts probably puts a smile on his face, and he gets to
now just run wild with all the spells. What's that card? It looks like Gideon that's in his hand. It must not be. It must be Intangible Virtue?
That's a Doomed Traveler, I believe, that just came down.
No, Hero Bladehold just came down.
Oh, Hero Bladehold, sorry.
There's a card that looks like Gideon in his hand.
Well, face down on the table, they all look the same.
Court sends in for 6 damage, courtesy of the Honor of the Pure. All right, and Andrew drew an honor. Oh, this is disgusting. All right, so what's going to happen here is he's going to get 2 more tokens, and they're all going to be 4/3s and the 4/5. So that's actually, if Court doesn't have anything, this is lethal. This is
an impressive outing for Andrew's mono white.
Yeah, I mean, this is lethal if Court doesn't have a spell in hand. Yep, that's game.
And Andrew's Township Tokens deck takes it down.
Well, that was fast. A little painful. Worst matchup Court could have ran into.
Oh, he just ran into another